All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and man, we are getting so much closer to the draft. We are now officially, 7 days away, kind of less. In the meantime, before this week passes, I will come out with 2 more mock drafts. I want to do a defensive center one where it's very defense heavy, going straight defense, do everything we got to do to have the best defense in the NFL type of mock draft. And then my final one a couple of days before the draft. Draft starts on Thursday. Maybe I'll have this out by like Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to do a mock draft, the most realistic possible mock draft, where I'm trying to get as many right as possible. I'm going to include undrafted free agents and all of that. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But today for this video, we're taking a look at some of the mock drafts around the NFL media landscape. NFL Network, Sports Illustrated, Yahoo, The Athletic, Pro Football Focus, all of those guys. We're going to take a look at who they drafted for us and why. I'm going to read their explanations for each of the picks and everything. And there's one player that was picked more than any other player, notably. Like out of 10 to 12 mock drafts, this one guy was selected 3 times. But before we dive into who that is and more, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up every Sunday for the Commanders call-in live show where you call in, you voice your opinions, ask whatever questions you may have. Of course, this upcoming Sunday is going to be very draft-centered. We have so many things to talk about. We have so many mock drafts to do live together. We can even do like an interactive mock draft where I see what y'all want to pick and then I pick that and we go from there. We do trade backs, all of that type of stuff. We're going to have fun on Sunday, man. I'm telling you. So make sure you stay tuned for that. All of my mock drafts coming out and everything. And of course, I will be live streaming during the draft as well. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So make sure you pull up for that. And without further ado, let's get it. All right, let's start with Peter Schrager of NFL Network. He has us taking Dalton Kincaid, the tight end from Utah, and this mock draft was done April 18th. All of these are recent. We're not just doing all of them from all time this entire offseason. We're doing all of the most recent ones from all of these websites. Shouts out to the commanders.com for putting this together. Zach Selby, shouts out to him. Peter Schrager of NFL Network said why he picked Dalton Kincaid for the Commanders 16th overall. He said, when healthy, Kincaid can do it all. He's flourished at Utah, and though not a punishing blocker in the run game, he can hang there too. He told NFL Network's Omar Ruiz at Utah's Pro Day in March that he was cleared to begin working out and expected to be cleared for full contact by Monday. He should go first of the tight ends. Washington's new offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy knows a thing or two about utilizing the position given his history in Kansas City. So basically they're saying that he could potentially be the next Travis Kelce, where his blocking is serviceable, but he does most of his work in the passing game and being a deadly pass catcher that if anybody would know how to use him is Eric Bieniemy. If there's anybody out there that can get the most out of him, to me, basically, he's going to be a better Zach Ertz. I feel like Zach Ertz is somewhat of his floor. Now, honestly, me personally, I'm not a huge fan of taking a receiving tight end in the first round. If anything, I would trade back and get my boy Darnell Washington, who's a dominant blocker, literally a third tackle on the field, and then also has a lot of receiving potential, but he's definitely far more raw than Dalton Kincaid when it comes to the receiving side. But when it comes to the blocking side, Darnell Washington still relatively raw there, but he's literally a third tackle on the field. That's what I prefer, but I wouldn't be mad if we drafted Dalton Kincaid, me personally. Then next up, Michael Fabiano of Sports Illustrated has us taking Broderick Jones, the offensive tackle from Georgia, you know what I'm saying? And he said the new look Commanders have a new starting quarterback in Sam Howell and would need to protect him at all costs. Adding Jones certainly fits the bill for Coach Ron Rivera, and it makes a lot of sense. I feel like ultimately offensive line makes the most sense in the first round, whether it's tackle, interior offensive lineman, whatever. I mean, corner also makes a lot of sense in the first round, but the difference is there's a drop off after the first set of tackles that are potentially going in the first round. After that, I feel like there's a pretty steep drop. But with corners, man, the guys going in the third round, I feel like aren't much worse. There isn't a big difference from those guys and the guys that are going to go in the first round, outside of like the very, very top guys like Devon Witherspoon and Christian Gonzalez, and of course guys like that. But like Joe Joey Porter, I feel like you definitely might as well take Julius Brents in the third over taking Joey Porter in the first. That's just my opinion. So I agree with taking the tackle there, and I'm a big Broderick Jones fan. Honestly, me personally, my favorite tackles in this draft class are Broderick Jones out of Georgia, crazy ceiling. Anton, love his ceiling as well, and arguably the best pass protecting tackle in this entire draft class. And then Darnell Wright, who's probably my favorite combination of traits. But a lot of people see him as potentially just a permanent right tackle, not a left tackle type of guy. But either way, you draft a tackle, we got to figure out what we're going to do with Charles Leno at that point. We're probably going to cut him, just like how the Bears cut him after they drafted a tackle. Before we got him, I believe, in 2020, we'd end up doing the same thing to him, taking a tackle earlier in the draft than we expected, somebody falling to us that we didn't expect to fall to us when we entered the draft. And then now we cut Charles Leno to save a lot of cap space and make some things shake right there. You draft Broderick Jones, he's your starting left tackle. Andrew Wiley, we're going to keep him a right tackle. I don't really see why to move him that much. He's versatile. You can play him at guard or whatever you want to do. But I feel like right tackle would make the most sense, most notably because, first of all, Rivera and Martin Mayhew have already said that's where they projected him when we signed him. But also, the last time we saw him, when he was having the game of his life, literally the best blocking performance I've ever seen from him was in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. And what was he playing? Right tackle. Don't fix what's not broken. Keep Andrew Wiley right there. I think Samuel Cosme's going to be an elite guard once he stays there. And that's what he's literally practicing towards, getting better and developing throughout an entire offseason, focusing purely on guard and not tackle guard at the same time, flip-flopping back and forth. Those are two completely different types of technique, footwork. So I have a lot of faith in Samuel Cosme at right guard. I think he has Brandon Sheriff level potential there. We'll see with the center position, left guard, and all of that. But I know for a fact you draft Broderick Jones, it's pretty much goodbye Charles Leno. I mean, at the very least, he's taking a pay cut and he's our backup swing tackle. Broderick Jones is your starter. Next up, Charles McDonald of Yahoo Sports has us taking John Michael Schmitz, the center from Minnesota, 16th overall. There's no explanation behind it. He just did a bunch of picks, just did a straight mock draft with no reasoning. But John Michael Schmitz actually makes a lot of sense in the first round for us, because if you want to classify him as an interior offensive lineman, period, right now we have 3 injury-prone starting caliber centers, though. Tyler Larson is decent. Nick Gates, the last time we just saw him from the Giants, he looks like he's fully recovered from his terrible leg injury, but still, he had it. He looks like he could be a starting caliber center for us as well. And then Chase Roulier is a top 5 center when healthy. The problem with him is, when is he healthy? Chase Roulier and Tyler Larson, they're just injury prone. They just seem to always get hurt every year. Whereas Nick Gates has actually been pretty healthy since he finally recovered from his injury. No real hiccups there afterwards, but you're still afraid of that injury just because of how gruesome it was and tragic it was. And actually just happened to be against us coincidentally. That was a crazy injury, man. So right now we have 3 centers where we're not necessarily sure how much they'll be available. And Chase Roulier is eating up an amount of cap space where it's like, yeah, we got to restructure this, cut him, whatever. This may be his last chance. But either way, my point is, especially with left guard, Ron Rivera saying the competition is between Chris Paul and Sadiq Charles. I love both of their talents. I loved what I saw from Chris Paul in that Cowboys game, the final game of the season. But to just assume that our starting left guard will be one of those 2 guys and that's it, I feel like that's pretty irresponsible from this coaching staff. So you draft John Michael Schmitz. He's your starting left guard potentially this season. Chris Paul is his backup. Sadiq Charles probably doesn't even make the 53-man roster. Maybe he does because he's versatile enough to maybe play a little center, a little guard, a little tackle if he's healthy, but he's still pretty raw at the same time. Maybe he's on the practice squad, whatever. And then whenever we're ready to bring in a true left guard, say we draft left guard in the first round of the 2024 draft, like we just go head first into fixing the left guard spot, and or maybe Chris Paul by the end of this season, this 2023 regular season, he's ready to step up and be our starting left guard full time. Or maybe it happens mid-season, whatever. But at some point, John Michael Schmitz moves from left guard to your starting center for a future top 5, at the very least top 10 offensive line, again with Andrew Wiley on the right, I guess Charles Leno for now, Chris Paul if he develops as well as I hope he does, John Michael Schmitz at center. That's a tough little offensive line. That's actually pretty cool. I feel like tackle, even just positional value wise alone, but also just my preference, I would prefer to take tackle at 16, but John Michael Schmitz is not a bad pick at all. Then next up, Dan Brugler of The Athletic. He has us taking Bijan Robinson, running back from Texas, and I know this is a very polarizing pick. Some people either love it, everybody else hates it. There's not really a middle. I guess I may be one of the very few people who's in the middle. I would prefer to take offensive line and cornerback way more than running back, but at the same time, he is a generational talent. And at the end of the day, we end up with Bijan Robinson. I'm not even necessarily excited about the fact that we have him. I'm more so excited that the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Giants don't have him, because I'm telling y'all, man, this man is going to be different. He is different. And playing keep away from the rest of the NFC East is happy enough for me. But at the same time, we get him. He changes the offense, and I can see Eric Bieniemy finding a way to use him very well. Problem is, I love Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. I love both of those guys. I think Antonio Gibson has been underutilized by Scott Turner severely. I think once Eric Bieniemy gets his hands on him, we're not going to think about taking running back anytime soon in any draft, especially within the first 3 rounds. Oh yeah, my bad. I got ahead of myself. Dan Brugler actually did an analysis of why he picked Bijan Robinson for us, but I just went ahead and dove right in. But he said running back isn't a glaring need on the Washington roster. I agree, but the chance to add a premier playmaker like Robinson would be tough to pass up, and there's a good point there. For an organization ready to trot out Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, Robinson would bring some offensive excitement for the fan base and new ownership. I mean, I feel like there's sleep on how excited this fan base is behind Sam Howell. A lot of us truly believe he can be that guy, but either way, he brings up good points. Next up, Arjun Menon and Brad Spielberger of Pro Football Focus selected Joey Porter, the quarterback from Penn State, for us. Analysis: Ron Rivera has never taken a cornerback in the first round as a head coach of the team, which I feel like that needs to be noted. I forget to mention that in videos, but it's always been in the back of my head. Ron Rivera has never taken a corner in the first round, and it's not even like he hasn't had good corners. It'd be different if he's never taken a corner in the first round and then he's never had good corners because of it, but he's found good corners second, third round, and beyond. So at that point, it's like, well, why fix what's not broken? If we keep taking corners outside of the first round and they keep being great, and then this draft out of all drafts is the deepest at corner that I can remember in a long time, where the third round corner you take is going to be almost as good as the first round corner that you can get as well. Like, it's very close. This is like the least likely year that Ron Rivera would ever take a corner in the first round, but you never know. But either way, continuing what they said, but this is a great year to do so given the state of Washington's roster and the strength of this year's cornerback class. The Commanders are currently projected to have Benjamin St. Juste and Kendall Fuller starting on the outside, which doesn't elicit a ton of confidence. When healthy, I love that cornerback duo, but that's the problem. When healthy, Benjamin St. Juste especially, Kendall Fuller's only getting older. Getting a true cornerback one would be the best pick for them, adding resources to a secondary that has struggled in recent years. Then next up, Michael Middlehurst Schwartz from the USA Today also has us taking Joey Porter, the cornerback from Penn State. They said there's no shortage of confidence or physicality to Joey Porter Jr., a battle-tested coverage man who refuses to cede anything easy. Those are good points to bring up. I'm not as high on Joey Porter as a lot of people are. I like him, and if we took him at 16, I'm not necessarily complaining, but I'm also not doing backflips like a lot of my favorite players in this draft. Then Cam Miller of Pro Football Network has us taking another Cam. His name is Cam. He was like, why not give the Commanders a Cam? Cam Smith, cornerback from South Carolina. That's interesting. That may be like the highest I've seen Cam Smith taken in a mock that I've been noticing. He said, here comes that run on cornerbacks as the Washington Commanders grab their top target in Cam Smith. The South Carolina cornerback plays a bigger game than even his frame would indicate and can stick with receivers in any type of coverage scheme, zone, man coverage, and I'm not too mad at that, man. Cam Smith does have some good tape. I'm higher on other corners than him, and again, just like Joey Porter, I would not be excited about that pick, but I also wouldn't be too upset. Then next up, Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports has us taking Deonte Banks, cornerback from Maryland, and I would definitely prefer Deonte Banks over Cam Smith and Joey Porter. I would prefer Christian Gonzalez and Devon Witherspoon over him, but if we're talking about the recent 2 picks from these mocks that other people have done for us, again, Cam and Joey Porter, I'd prefer Deonte Banks. I feel like he's a way better fit. Ryan Wilson said Maryland teammate and fellow cornerback Jacorian Bennett got much of the buzz in the fall, but Banks put together the type of season that will land him in the first round conversation. He's a fluid athlete who is also a big physical corner who can match up with NFL wide receivers, and I can't argue against that, man. That man Deonte Banks is probably a better fit than Joey Porter, in my honest opinion. You can argue maybe Joey Porter is the better overall prospect, but if we're talking about what Jack Del Rio wants to do with a lot of zone coverage and things like that, having pure athleticism, a really fast guy, Deonte Banks is easily the better fit for what we're trying trying to do. And you could potentially get him later than 16. You could probably trade back and still get him rather than taking Joey Porter at 16th overall. Then Bleacher Report has us taking Paris Johnson Jr., the offensive tackle from Ohio State, and that's a pretty good pick right there. He's not my favorite tackle in the class. I can see the argument for him being the #1 tackle for some people. It's not like when people say Paris Johnson is their favorite tackle in this class, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? I'm just more of a Broderick Jones, more of a Darnell Wright, and an Anton Harrison type of guy. I prefer those three, but Paris Johnson making it to 16th overall, first of all, I highly doubt it, but if he did, I think that would arguably be a steal right there. I think he's a really good tackle. I think this is a really good tackle class, especially very top heavy with the first 4 or 5 guys, and we would be lucky to get somebody like him. They said Adden Johnson would allow the Commanders to slide Andrew Wiley to guard. The Commanders could instead want their new $24 million investment in a veteran on the strong side. Johnson could once again start his career along the interior for a few years before taking over for Leno. And I mean, I guess, but I don't really see that. We draft Paris Johnson. He's just starting left tackle immediately. And the same thing, like I said earlier, we're cutting Charles Leno to save money. Andrew Wiley staying at right tackle because Y-Fix was not broken. Samuel Cosme is your starting right guard of the future Pro Bowler, all pro. I see the potential there. And then we got to figure out the rest. But I know for at the very least, you draft Paris Johnson or any other left tackle like Broderick Jones, you know what you got in 3 guys, right tackle, left tackle, and right guard. I'm very confident in those. And then the last and final one that we're going to talk about is Charles Davis from NFL.com selecting Joey Porter Jr., cornerback from Penn State. And as you can see, the only person that was selected more than once was Joey Porter out of all of these, and he was selected 3 times. So there may be a pattern there, or people saying that we're very likely to get Joey Porter at 16th overall. I do believe he will be available. I just don't think that we will want him enough to take him at 16. I think we're far more likely to trade back anyway. But Joey Porter being available at 16th overall, I think that's very possible, very realistic. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about all of this. Of course, the draft is coming up April 27th through the 29th. I will be live streaming each of those days. I will be live streaming at the very least round 1 on Thursday, round 2 and 3 on Friday, and at least rounds 4 and 5 on Saturday. But we'll see. May go longer than that. Make sure you pull up for those as well. But again, let me know in the comment section how you feel about all of these selections. Do you feel like Dalton Kincaid, Broderick Jones, John Michael Schmitz, Bijan Robinson, Joey Porter, Cam Smith, Deontay Banks, Paris Johnson Jr., any of those are good picks? If not, who would you prefer more than those guys? Who are you really hoping slides to us at 16? Because Christian Gonzalez may feel like a pipe dream, but you never know. Some people may feel like his lack of size and his inability to contribute in the run game at all as far as stopping the run may actually let him slide pretty far, and the fact that he was in the Pac-12 rather than like in the SEC or the Big Ten or things like that. You never know. So let me know in the comment section who would be your dream picks, who are your realistic picks at 16th overall, and all of that. And of course, if you've done any mock drafts, put those in the comment section as well. And of course, man, I appreciate all the support. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. And as always, I appreciate all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.